One. On the latest episode of The Big Show, the 25th installment of the longest running franchise in Hollywood history, 007's James Bond is in theaters. The 25th film in the series, No Time to Die, is in theaters, and we'll discuss the Bond legacy and review the film. Also, earlier this week, Dave Chappelle's latest stand-up special, The Closer, debuted on Netflix. We'll discuss Chappelle's sixth special and the furor it has received, plus the 9th annual Middleburg Film Festival debuts next week, and we'll discuss some of the high-profile titles that will play at the fest. We'll have all that and more on episode 474 of Keeping It Real with FilmGordon. Let's go. All right, and welcome to the latest episode of Keeping It Real with FilmGordon. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Tim Gordon, and I am joined by two superstars in the game, two dudes whose work I respect, two dudes who I'm just glad to be in the orbit of these brothers, because these are not just smart brothers, intelligent brothers filled with integrity. From a spiritual standpoint, they are men of God. That's why I wanted them here today. One of them is actually an alpha. This dude right here, before we get into that dude that we're going to announce, I want to welcome in Charles Kirkland Jr. What's going on, brother?
What's happening, Tim? I'm glad to be here.
Man, and coming back, this is his second home. This brother is over at Picture Lot. We had him on earlier, or tried to get him on earlier for DC BFF. This brother is a professor, a radio talk show host. As I said, a proud member of 1906 Alpha Phi. This brother right here, Kevin Sampson. Anytime I get Kevin on, Kevin is my dude. Kevin, I love Kevin. Kevin Sampson, what's up, man?
Dude, Tim, that you laying it on thick, man. But I appreciate you, my brother. I feel encouraged, full of courage based on that intro. I feel like I got to say something smart now. Otherwise, I don't live up to the hype. Thanks for having me on.
Brother, you ain't got to say nothing smart, man. I'm humbled, man, because I am blessed. Because, I sat down and I told a story a lot that when I was 27 years old, years ago, I had an epiphany that I wanted to live my life in a way that I would do something I really loved, and somebody would think that I was doing such a good job, they would give me some money for doing something that I would do for free. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is my life. So the fact that before we did this call today, we had an opportunity to all be on the same call with an Oscar-winning screenwriter and spend some time chopping it up with him. So I'm only as strong as my community, and my community is the bomb. And these two brothers on here are part of my community. So I enjoy all the stuff that we're doing. We get to talk about movies, man, every week. Come on, bro. Movies.
You're right. It's a lot to be grateful for, man. And honestly, it's funny because now, we've been in the game so long that, and I can't lie, I feel like in some ways I'm skating through off of all the hard work that I've done to get up to this. You know what I mean? Like I'm still getting these screeners and this, that, the other. But man, I love it. And what you just said is absolutely correct. Like, When we were kids, and I'm speaking for myself, like when I was a kid, I never really thought that like my love for movies, like I could actually have a career from it, right? Like that I'd be talking about movies, right? Or like you said, just talking, time in a needle in a time stack and things like that, man. So when you look at it, it's just, wow, pinch me, wake me up, throw some water on my face, slap my face, something.
Watch this, Charles Kirkland. Come on, man. You gonna be left out of this gratefulness, man.
Look, I'm just like you guys. This is an honor for me to be able to sit down and talk about something I grew up from a child loving, watching movies, and who would ever value my opinion when I speak about these things is what I was thought. And so now here I am, a member of the Critics' Choice Association. I get to sit down and and listen to John Ridley speak. Can I say that? Did I say the name? Oh,
man. I mean, they'll see it this afternoon. It's not like it's a secret. So basically, what Charles is saying is, I moderated a conversation with John Ridley for our Black Reel Awards Voting Academy members and for members of the Critics' Choice Associations as a part of the Celebration of Black Film event, which, by the way, both Kevin Sampson and I are now on the committee. And it's coming up on December the 6th. I don't know why Charles didn't jump on the committee. That's next year, bro. You jump on the committee. But yeah, man, we are living the dream. But go ahead, Charles. You in the middle of testifying, brother.
I was just going to say, and then to be a part of the organization that honors the work that Black Americans, African Americans are doing in film, and where they won't get that kind of recognition anywhere else. We get the opportunity to give them that recognition. And then, like Mr. Ridley said today, he appreciated us for doing this thing. I'm just blown away to be in this atmosphere.
All right, bro. Well, we're gonna have the Love Fest will continue through the show, man. So coming up a little later on, I'm not sure. Kevin, did you see it yet?
I ain't see it, so I'm gonna skip.
Okay, well, no, cool. No, okay, cool. So later on in the show, we will review No Time to Die, and we will also talk about the Bond legacy. Also, the Middleburg Film Festival. We're gonna talk a little bit about that. Kevin and I have done our thing in Middleburg, where we usually, I mean, I know how cool it is that we create our own shows at Middleburg. Remember that? We went outside and shot a show sitting on the patio and some chairs and was like, let's do the show right here.
I remember that. That was fun.
Yeah, that was hot. Me, Kevin, and Travis, we were like, what's up? So, Kevin, we're going to talk a little bit about Middleburg, but I want to start off with the latest special from Dave Chappelle, which debuted earlier this week. He starts off in the closer by saying that this was going to be his last show for a minute. I'm assuming he's going to take a break, maybe 3-4 years. But man, this collection of work that he's put out from, I want to say 2017 or maybe 2016, last 5 years worth of work that he's put out. It's just been unprecedented, man. And it's funny because I called Charles up after I saw it, and Charles hadn't watched it yet. So I said, give me a call when you're done and we will talk about it. I thought, again, the last couple of specials that Chappelle has done feel to me almost like he's a professor in a classroom and like the audience are students, and you're just sitting there as he educates you, points out certain things about the culture, makes you laugh, but he also simultaneously makes you think, which to me separates him from almost every comedian that's out here now. You think about a Kevin Hart, you think about Chris Rock. I think about, it's funny because Norm Macdonald just passed, and, Charles, who we're going to really tell a very interesting story in a second. I'm going to let him tell it to you, was praising Norm Macdonald, who actually I watched his last special from 2017. And I must admit, it was funny. It's different kind of humor. I like my humor a different way than what Norm Macdonald does, but I'm not killing Norm Macdonald, right? So I thought the jokes and his setup, which I think to me put Chappelle head and shoulders over his peers, right? Of how he sets up his material, right? Where he draws you in and then he'll like hit you with something. You go, oh, dang, Chappelle. So as evidence, and again, I'm going to say this because people always talk about, well, you got to be spoiler free. Man, that thing came on Tuesday. The day is in the weekend. If you haven't watched The Closer by now, I'm not spoiling anything for you. You got to be quick.
You probably didn't want to watch it. You probably didn't, because if you're a Dave Chappelle fan, no doubt, you just like, oh, it's Tuesday.
Right. So people kill me. You spoiling it for us. No, you got to be quicker, man. There's a lot of entertainment out there. I ain't got time to be babying you. What's the name of this show, Charles?
Keeping it real, baby. Keeping it real. Look, when I told Tim that the special was dropping last week, Tim was like, word, okay. And he watched, he saw it.
I was like, Tuesday? Oh, I'm there for that. So, but let me finish this. So the fact that Dave Chappelle, there's a segment in there where he talks about, you guys keep talking about how much I hate transgenders. He was like, I don't hate transgenders. He's like, I try to tell you, if you go back and watch all my specials, I told you it was harder for Muhammad Ali to change his name than it was. No, it was easier for Caitlyn Jenner to change her gender than for Muhammad Ali to change his name. And then he goes on and on of stuff that he's referenced from other specials. And it's like, he was like, you just don't listen. And I'm like, bro, I'm here for you. You are so right. And then this setup of the story that he initiated from like 2 specials ago about a transgender comedian. I forget the sister's name or the woman's name.
Daphne Dickerson, was it? Yeah.
No, it wasn't different. It was Daphne something. But he told the story 2 specials ago of how, you know, she sat in the audience. She laughed at his jokes after he, wait, hold on a second.
Hold up. There you go. Daphne
Dorman.
This is,
thank you, sir.
Because when he did that, I said, let me look this up and see if this is real or not.
And
right?
it's real.
It's real.
And it's real. So he talked about meeting her. He talked about the experience of them having drinks afterwards, developing a friendship. He finding out that she was a budding comedian, giving her a shot to open for him. And the story is so great because he talked about how she bombed. She was just terrible for 45 minutes, right? And then she sat there after his show, which he was like, that took some balls. If you were that bad. And, you know, and just kind of endeared herself to the fans. You have to watch the special because I'm not going to mess up Chappelle's jokes. But then he hits you with, she took her life, and everybody in the crowd goes, oh. And that to me is the genius of Chappelle, that I'm going to bring you in, and then I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to hit you with it. And then at the same time, you laugh, but you're also kind of informed. I love this man as a comedian. I live in a house, as an aside, where I'm trying to listen to R. Kelly music because I am able to separate the art. Stop it. I'm trying to separate the art from the artist. And I have all these conversations, which we should do a separate show on that, right?
Right.
And if you didn't watch SNL last week, there's an amazing skit where Owen Wilson is the host, and there's a funeral for some fictitious character who wanted sung at her funeral, I Believe I Can Fly. And just go back and Google the funeral scene. I was howling in there watching that last week because it talks about cancel culture and what all of this stuff means. So I've said all that to say that I love The Closer. If I had to rate it as a critic, I would give it a B+. I'm going to start with Kevin since he's our guest because I think I know. Charles, I want to set you up with your story at the end. Kevin, what did you think about The Closer?
Man, I thought it was hilarious. Like Dave Chappelle, just the same way that you said, Tim, you think that he's just genius. I think he is as well. And it's funny because who would have thought that the dude from Men in Tights, the random comedian, and the Nutty Professor, remember when he had the hair, it was like all crazy. Like this dude would be one of the greatest comic voices of our time, right? And I agree with you 100%. It's his setup, it's his delivery. And if you watch his specials, you know there's a few things that he does, right? Like he puts his foot up on the feedback monitor or the monitor. He'll tap with the microphone like on his knee, right? There's certain things that is kind of like his tick. But the whole time I'm just watching and I'm like looking down at the stage to see, all right, does he have a set list down there? Like, what is it? But it's amazing that he has all these jokes in his head and the rate at which he's delivering them. And so he hits you with the shock factor, right? Like, and then he knows he's doing it and he says, uh-oh, we just getting started, right? Like he knows where he's going. He's like, oh, I'm in trouble now. He knows what he's doing.
Right.
But I feel like it's Trojan horse comedy where he's putting this big horse into the city. But really what he wants to get is all the dudes jumping out of that horse. And this is what we're really here to talk about. And so It's interesting because so the National Black Justice Coalition came out with the statement that Netflix needs to pull, and David Johns is the founder, and so we're in a group together, and so I actually know him, and I watched a news clip in which he was explaining his point, to which he believes that Dave Chappelle is genius as well. And so, a lot of the, it's interesting because it's like that hoopla is exactly what Dave is addressing, right? As he said, he said, if you notice, it's never been about trans people; it's about white people in power, right? And kind of how society functions. Even his example about the slave owner that got free that just started to own slaves because that's what rich people did at the time, right? And it's interesting because like a show like Blackish, and I know I'm kind of going around the world, but I promise I'm gonna
No,
land
you're
this
good.
plane.
You're good.
But for my wife and I, we're in a position where, when I grew up, I went to public school, and for a while we were here in Charlotte, like we had our kids at a private school, and this is new territory, right, for Black families, and so sometimes like it's that old adage of um, don't act like if you go to a mansion for the first time, act like you've been there
Act
before,
like you've been
right?
here before. Yeah.
Right. And so what he's talking about is kind of it is so fascinating because it's so true. Sometimes when we feel like we're equal with who we thought was on top, we start to imitate those actions, right? And so if you're not really like, I mean, it's comedy, right? So you got to expect a comedian is going to go raw to through the roof, like that's what they do, right? And it's almost like they're the last people that will speak the truth, because like now we're so PC, we don't want to say anything to hurt people's feelings, or with cancel culture you don't want to lose your job, right? But by the end of it, and I know I'm going for a long, but by the
No,
end of
you're
it,
good. I'm responding to what you're saying, not that you're saying it. I'm like,
yeah,
cancel culture.
you just see that this is something that he's thought out, and he's really addressing an issue with our society. The fact that for the words that the baby used on stage, and I
Right.
understand because again, like David being a colleague, I see how he's been posting about different trans women dying by violence, and so I understand how words can affect people. Right, we've seen that even with Trump and some of the
Right.
dog whistle language that he used to get things started on the Capitol. But I think if you don't, you're missing the boat if that's what you're focusing on, because what he is pointing out, and I think what good comedians do, is able to point out the hypocrisy within our culture, and he does that so well. And I think this is the deal. Like at the end of the day, if Tim, you wanted me to start calling you Kelly, I'm gonna call you Kelly because I respect you and you're my friend. But what Dave said, that was the nail in the coffin, and you cannot argue with, is that line that he said that every single human being on this earth had to pass through the legs of a woman to be here. It's over. That's
Now,
it.
now
That's
watch
it.
this. Watch this, Kevin. Man, Charles Kirkland and he shared a story with me that I had never known. And I want Charles to talk about what is your connection, Charles, to Dave Chappelle as you talk about this special. Go ahead.
Well, I did have a short career in the world of stand-up comedy,
Get
and I
out of
had.
here. What?
Oh, it gets better. Go ahead, Charles. It gets better.
And so I had the opportunity at one time where when I was working in the jail, Dave Chappelle came into the jail and did a set for the inmates there. And afterwards, he came up to me, he saw me, he recognized me from some of the stuff that I had done in this club in Baltimore. And he asked me, to come, that he told me he was doing some things, he's pitching this show. I believe at the time it was to HBO. He was pitching a show, and he needed some writers. And I knew Dave from, he's DC area dude. I knew him half baked, he hadn't really blown up to where he is now. I'm like, man, come on, this dude for real. I don't know if that's my kind of guy to hang out with and do stuff with. I told him I'd get back to him. I'd let him know. Next thing I know, it's about a month down the line, and here's Dave's got this show that he's getting ready to put out, the Chappelle show, and this was what I was supposed to be doing. He wanted me to come on board with him as a writer for the Chappelle show, and to this day I kick myself every time I see Dave. I'm like, dang man, what did I do? The choices you and John Ridley said. What if I had done this? What if I had done that? So, that's
no, you said you could have been Ashley Larry?
I could have been Ashley Larry. I could have been Ashley Larry. That could have been me.
Oh, man.
So what did you think about the special, Charles?
Oh, man. And look, the genius for me about Dave Chappelle is that he puts it in a way that you can't really argue with it because it's truth. And so if you do, then the onus becomes upon the people who are arguing. I've seen a lot of people who've complained, that he's transphobic and all this other stuff. And I'm like, have you seen the special? No, I haven't watched it. Excuse me, how can you complain about the show if you haven't watched it? And then even when these people are taking quotes from the show here and there, whatever, I'm like, did you watch the show to put everything in context? No, I just saw this is what's happening. I'm like, look, you can argue about what he says, but if you don't know the whole context, it's like reading the Bible. You can take every little word out of context when you're reading the Bible and apply it however you want. But it's the global message that really counts. And as Kevin says, this is Trojan horse comedy. This thing is loaded with so much information, so much truth that if you try to argue about it, and like you said, the National Black, I forget the name of they become under ridicule from some of our culture for saying you guys are missing the point. You're missing the point of what he's communicating. And that is the true genius of what Chappelle has done. It's almost like he creates this bulletproof aura around himself with this humor that if you look at it, if you listen to it and really listen to it, then you really have no complaint. And you at least you shouldn't, or you're just going off of what everyone else says. And to this day, I don't have anyone who's could come to me and say, this is why this is disrespectful, and who's taken it from, I've seen the whole show, and this is what it's all about, and this is wrong, and this is wrong, and this is wrong. I think he's a genius, and I just missed the point that I could have worked with him.
Well, I was gonna say that I've been a fan of this guy's work from what it's worth. Killing him softly.
Yeah,
I thought was just genius, man. I was telling Charles the other day. I said, I think about the joke that he made about being driven to the hood in a limousine after a show and being out there 3 a.m. and seeing a baby on the corner. Hey, baby. And then the baby selling drugs, and he's like, with his door like. I just think I was telling Charles, I said, I'm a film critic, right? But I'm also a guy who really understands stand-up comedy, right? And I know as a kid that Richard Pryor unquestionably is the GOAT. He's like literally the greatest stand-up comedian that America has ever produced. The first winner of the Mark Twain Prize, acknowledged by peers left and right as the GOAT, right? George Carlin for me. If I had my own Mount Rushmore, George Carlin, who I think if Pryor is one, Carlin's got to be like 1B or 1A. Like he's right there. I mean, really smart. I love my comedians, really, really smart and great storytellers. I don't really have a number 3, but at this point, Dave Chappelle is on my Mount Rushmore because I just think his setup, genius. You know, you watch The Age of Spin. When he tells this long story about black soldiers having to go and fight, you know, and they go over there and they're messing with these women overseas and they're getting candy, they're giving up candy bars and having sex. And then LSD is introduced. So you're sitting there as he's going through this history lesson, as we know that all of this stuff is true. And then at the end of it, he hits you with, and during all this time, Bill Cosby raped 54 women. And I was like, I said, now that is genius. Because he pulled you into a 15-minute history lesson only to get you to Bill Cosby. Chappelle, man, again, I understand people who have issues with his comedy. I have conversations in my house all the time about people love Michael Jackson, people love James Brown, people love Marvin Gaye, and all these folks have done things that if we had social media years ago, that the culture would have come for them. But you know, now we live in a time where that is the reality versus we don't really want to address stuff that happened beforehand, right? So my thing is that for all of the people we love, we're all human, right? All of us are flawed. We all make mistakes, right? And, you know, as a Christian, God is everybody's judge. I'm not the judge, right? I can agree that I'll do something else, find something else to support, but I don't feel that I need to cancel anybody, right? I don't need to cancel anybody. I will leave that to the culture to do that, right? But I say all that to say that for people who have issues with Chappelle, that's your issue. I'm gonna let you have it. I love this guy's comedy. I've met him a couple of times. He's absolutely goofy. Quick story, Charles and Kevin. I was working at HUR 20 years ago. Chappelle's in town doing his sets at the DC Improv, right? So he comes to the radio station in a limousine by himself, no bodyguards. He gets out the car, opens the door. There's a puff of weed, you know, because Dave is getting high. So he comes in the studio. I put him in the green room. I go, Dave, we'll be back in 5 minutes. You can do your set. I go to the studio, let them know, hey, Chappelle's coming in. These are the points we want to hit. He's going to be at the Improv this weekend, blah, blah, blah. I come back to the green room empty. Like, where's Dave? I go out in the hallway, no Dave. I walk around the radio station. I'm all inside the radio station, no Dave. The whole segment comes and goes, no Dave Chappelle, right? We done promoted him. I don't know what happened to Dave Chappelle. So I go back to the green room, no Chappelle. I walk out and there's a door going outside. I go outside, Dave's leaning up against the wall with his foot up. I said, Dave, what happened? You were supposed to be going on. Oh, man. It was like, so, hey, I watched his comedy. I went and saw him that weekend. Dave is just a different kind of guy. He's just a different kind of guy. But his mind is always working. It's always sharp. And I'm going to miss seeing him. I hope whatever break he's taking is a short one. Yeah. The world needs storytellers like Dave Chappelle. We need more Chappelle in our lives. So that's all I got on Dave, man. So anybody else with any closing remarks before we move on to the next thing?
I think the reason why Dave is stepping away is because he shot all the bullets. He unloaded his gun on this last one, the closer. And so he's got to reload. So he's going to go out there and just chill for a while, and he'll be back. Something's going to happen, and it's going to bring him back. Just like we had that incident before that brought him back.
George Floyd, yeah, with the 846 special.
Yeah. I think it's going to be interesting to see because he's so smart, right? I want to see what this next special, hopefully, like you said, Tim, is going to be, because he said, you're not going to hear me talk about this anymore in terms of LGBT jokes. So it's going to switch, right? But we know that he's going to say something that is poignant to the culture. And so I hopefully, you know, just being a man of his word, I look forward to seeing what that switch is. I feel like In terms of social commentary, definitely from the jump. I mean, like his logo is red, black, and green, right? Mm-hmm. So we know that he's like for Black people. So we know that it's probably going to be something of that. But you know, I think the horse might change, but we're still going to get that same great commentary. And like you said, like we need like the George Carlins, the Richard Pryors, the people that are gonna say something that I'm not gonna say, but at the same time, like we can laugh as we're doing it. And I understand 100%. No one wants to be the butt of the jokes, but I think like people said, like, you know, he's using the N-word. Why if like for Black folks, are you not upset about that? Like it's just, we could be upset about a lot of things. And I do want to say that I do think being responsible for our words and like how they can have an impact on people is important. But I think in this situation, a planned out comedy sketch, like this is like going to class to teach. Like he's thinking about this, right? It's not like he just got up there and just started ranting. This is well thought out. So, you know, that's it.
All right. So programming note, we went so long on Chappelle that we're going to have a separate Middleburg Film Festival. We'll be in Middleburg all next week. We tried to get Kevin to go. Kevin was like, I'm going to pass this year. So we will talk about Middleburg. Yeah. Kevin didn't say that.
Dana said, I don't got no more passes for y'all. So.
Ooh. Well, it is a little tight, but you know.
Oh, it's going to be tight.
As we bring Dave Chappelle to the close, I'm going to go ahead and get a glass of beet juice.
You got to watch the special.
Oh man!
Wow. Okay. So now we transition over to. We transition over now to what I think is one of the most difficult movies that I've had to review in a long time, which is No Time to Die, which is the final installment from Daniel Craig. And I'm so good at this. Look, I have no paper in front of me. Look, there's nothing there, no notes. You know how I do. Really? Oh, all right. Kevin sent me a note. Look, okay. Kev doesn't want to be polluted. He doesn't want our reviews to pollute his thoughts on James Bond. So, bruh, I appreciate you. Thank you for coming on. And me and Charles, we will rock out. I'm not gonna finish that statement. We're gonna rock out from here.
Oh gosh, man. Hey, we wildin' today.
It's the Chappelle, man. It's the Chappelle.
Right.
All right, but yo, bro, appreciate you, man. Love you. You and I, thoughts and prayers, bro.
Thank you. See y'all. Peace.
All right, man. You take care, man. So that was Kevin Sampson from Picture Lock, who came on, man, and participated in our Chappelle discussion. But so as I was saying, Charles, No Time to Die, which is the 5th installment, the 25th film in the franchise. Oh, actually, let me rephrase that. The 25th film that is produced by, is it EON? EON Productions. There are a couple other films, Never Say Never Again in 1983, where Sean Connery comes back. There's also Casino Royale from 1969, I think it was, which is outside of the Eon scope. So there's been a total of 27 James Bond movies, 25 that are made through this production company. And then this latest one, man, James Bond is retired. He's chilling. He's down in Jamaica where there's tons of pretty women. I don't know if for people who are young, if that even makes any sense, but that's a song from Stephen Bishop called On and On, which describes what James Bond is. He's in Jamaica. He's retired. He's doing his thing. And his old friend, Felix Leiter, played by Jeffrey Wright, comes down to tell him that there's something afoot, some new technology, and we need you back in the game. But Charles, when he comes back in the game, he's still James Bond, but he can't get his 007 back because his 007 now belongs to Nomi, played by Lashana Lynch. So how awkward is that to be in the room when they say 007 and everybody snaps their head? No, not you, James.
Not you.
her, Jane. So needless to say, as a quick turnaround, since this is the last film in the franchise, the film and the Daniel Craig era needed closure. And I think the film is very effective closing. Charles, it's really effective at closing the book on Daniel Craig, who to this day remains my second favorite Bond of all time, pushing Pierce Brosnan down to number 3. Sean Connery is the king. He's 007, man. He's James Bond. So, but Daniel Craig, man, I thought this movie, to me, I'll just say that it went about maybe 30 minutes too long for me. And I think her name is pronounced Léa Seydoux.
Right.
Léa Seydoux. I didn't get the sparks that I think the story needed in order for it to really resonate about this true love. So I had an issue with that. And I also had an issue with the third act. So I understand closure, but I just think that the producers went to an area in the closure that had never been done for any of the other actors who inhabited 007's mantle in the past. So that was my issue, but I still thought it was a strong B. It was a film that's been delayed. It's coming back. They're working on the ideas for 26 by starting with who's going to inhabit the tuxedo and become the new James Bond. But what an era Daniel Craig had. What a run he had as James Bond, man. Like I said, he's my second favorite Bond of all time. Charles, what did you think about No Time to Die?
Well, to pick up on your comments about Léa Seydoux, her character, Madeleine, never really feels like she belongs to James Bond, that there was anything between them other than she was kind of like the bounce back from Vesper Lynd. And the fact that they bring Vesper, her back in name in this film, just kind of gives us that emotion that she's still the second girl. I mean, the real love was between him and Vesper, and not him and Madeline. I mean, he's just palling around with her. And so, yeah, the chemistry there, it never really worked for me. It never has really worked. And, I agree that it just didn't fit. And so for that to be the linchpin of and I don't want to give too much away, but to be their connection, their relationship to be the linchpin of the conclusion, it kind of got me as in, I wasn't too happy about the way they closed this out either for Daniel Craig. So, and then there was a lot of absurdity that goes on in the final acts of the film that, to have James Bond storm this place and take out all these people, it just kind of, and then he can't, for some reason, take out the one person. It was kind of, unbelievable. So either on one hand, he should succeed, or the other hand, he shouldn't succeed. He should have lost a long time ago. But anyway, I gave it a solid B, though, because of the work that Fukunaga does with the way he creates these visual styles that, I mean, he grasps the action very well. He gives us gorgeous landscapes of the Italian villas that they're in and the Jamaican landscape and everything. So I really liked a lot of this film. At 2 hours and 42 minutes, it's the longest Bond film ever. And it really should not have been that long.
It's that long because we needed to say goodbye to Daniel Craig, and I'm not being funny. I mean, I think part of this, and I didn't mean to cut you off, Charles, is that part of this, man, is that as people who review, we more than anybody else understands the patterns and know what we're doing with certain films, like why certain films are the way they are, why they're structured why they're marketed the way they are. And the audience isn't dumb either. The audience knows that this was the 25th film, 25 is a significant number. This was his fifth film, am I correct?
It's his fifth, yeah.
Fifth film.
And then don't forget, two previous outings of Craig's have also been the longest Bond movies as well. So he even goes past what he had done before.
Skyfall and some of these other ones. Yeah, man. It is what it is, man. But yeah, man, again, the Bond era, it's pretty interesting that, you start off with the Dr. Knows and Thunderball and all of these films. It's an amazing accomplishment that the Broccoli family and forget the other gentleman have done in producing these films, man. I mean, it's the one franchise where they can kind of intersperse they can interchange the lead out, and it's still James Bond. The name James Bond is so significant. They could cast me as James Bond. And well, not necessarily me, but you know what I'm talking about. They can cast you. You can be James Bond, and people would be like, "Oh, that's the new 007." It happens, man.
It is an automatic. I do like the fact when you talked about Lashana Lynch being 007 that there's no specialness to this number. That James Bond was 007, but there will be another 007. But, at the end of this film, like all the others, James Bond will return. So who it will be, that's going to be interesting. That's the interesting part.
Well, like I said, man, I did a programming note that I know we'd initially teased that we would talk about the Middleburg Film Fest. We got time next week, man. The fest is coming out. We're both going to be there for opening night next week. It's the festival's opening. You're going to be there for The Rescue. Earlier on opening night, I'll be there. My first film is going to be King Richard. So I think, technically, since we're seeing them at a festival, that we can actually review these movies early. Technically, you can. If you see a movie at a festival, you can. So I think that I've got some time set aside next week for a special episode of our show where we should go in, because by this time next week, we will have seen King Richard, The Harder They Fall, and Passing. And I would love us to kind of touch on all three of these movies. So if you're watching us right now, stay tuned for the special Middleburg Film Fest edition, Middleburg 21, which is now the 9th annual Middleburg Film Fest. I've been lucky enough to have been at all 9. This will be my 9th year. So I've been there every year they've ever had this fest. So it's one of my go-tos. I love being out in Middleburg in the fall. It's scenic out there. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. Charles, this is your 3rd, 4th year, 5th year?
I couldn't believe it. This is my 4th Middleburg.
4th Middleburg Fest. Okay, cool. So yeah, it's a good festival, man. And I'm looking forward to it this year. So we will come back and do that. So Charles, you got anything else before we get out of here, man, and wrap up 474?
Man, we didn't get to talk about What If that came out this week as well, which was a big serious conclusion.
We got another show, man. I mean, we need more cowbell. We don't have enough show in order to do all this stuff. Right, yeah, that really was good this week. Yeah, so I think that's going to have the 9-story arc from What If is truly going to have major ramifications moving forward through the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And also, let us also again acknowledge that these were the final voice work of the late, great Chadwick Boseman, who recorded all of the voice work, in which we found out after the fact, and I don't know if, Charles, you heard about this, that they had planned on spinning out or doing a spinoff series of Star-Lord T'Challa prior to the announcement of his death, that was going to be a project that they were going to have Chadwick Boseman work on. So you lose this great actor who inhabited so many sort of iconic, he had so many portrayals of iconic individuals and was making his mark in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and all that's been taken away from us, man. So if you didn't get a chance to watch What If, go back in and savor the work of the late Chadwick Boseman, who even had some voice work in this final episode, the season finale. The season finale of What If. So, yes, Charles. So anything else?
That's it, man. That's it. Let's get out of here.
All right, man. So we about to wrap it up. As we tell you guys every week in closing, there was several other movies that came out this weekend. The real film was No Time to Die. That's the one you needed to hear us talk about. We tell you every week, please see something good at the movies. We're giving you what we think is the movie. Go back and watch The Closer on Netflix. Go back and watch What If. And we will see you guys next week at the Middleburg Film Fest. You guys take care, and we'll see you on the other side. Enjoy your weekend. Stupid, man. Stupid. Peace.